Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the People's Verdict. I'm your host, Patrick Soko, and today we are discussing intra-party democracy as Zambia hosts the Democracy Summit this month. And my guest on the program is Mr. FABIAN MUTALE to help me discuss this topic and as we delve much into intra-party politics. Mr. MUTALE is a PF founding member and is going to help us understand the issues pertaining to that political party. As you already know, the Patriotic Front is Zambia's major opposition political party, and its sustainability is also important towards Zambia's democracy. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Soko, and it's a pleasure being here.
We appreciate that you honored our invitation so that we can have this conversation.
Anytime, on national duty.
Interesting. Well, on the 29th and 30th of March 2023, the Zambia and the United States will co-host the second summit for democracy with government of Costa Rica, the Netherlands, and the Republic of Korea. Quite interesting issues pertaining to the democracy summit will be coming out of there. But we're also looking at prior to this important national event, which Zambia will be co-hosting with these other countries. Mr. MUTALE, first of all, what should this summit represent in terms of us strengthening our democracy as a country, as Zambia?
Well, it is quite an opportunity for Zambia to share a lot of things in terms of democracy. You are mindful that from is it 1991, Zambia has held elections more than 3, 4, 5 times, and all these elections have seen a transition of power from one political to the other in a very peaceful way. While in other countries we see a lot of acrimony, and arising from elections we see people fighting. But Zambia has been a beacon of peace, something that a lot should be learned by any country that survives on democracy. Interesting.
And you also coming here as among those founding member of the opposition Patriotic Front. And just to give us your understanding of this political party and just to where it is at the moment in opposition, back to opposition.
Well, PF in its current state is, like you put it, the largest political party, as well as the largest opposition political party. Largest in the sense that it is just coming from being the ruling party, and it is fact that they've got a lot of structures which are still around. We haven't seen a lot of exodus from the ruling party to from the opposition to the ruling party, except isolated members leaving to join the socialist and other political parties. In answering your question, PF beginning 2001 up to date, we've seen it growing from a single councillor, single MP, 48, 56 MPs, forming government, and now getting out of government. It should have been a very big lesson to the leadership, especially the leadership now, to see the transition from a political party that was started barely 2 months before elections in 2001 and growing until they form government. Now that they're out of government, I feel the leadership now should be more united than any time before, because that the death of PF is actually killing democracy itself, because PF has also contributed in a way in the democratic dispensation of Zambia.
But now when it comes to at national level, let's look at Zambia itself. Are we reflecting a true democracy? Are we upholding to the tenets of democracy as a country?
The answer is twofold, Mr. Soko. It's yes and no. Yes, in the sense that Zambia being a democracy, we've always seen elections taking place, leaders being elected and handing over of power. However, during the same period, we've seen political parties where they have got a stronghold. So it's been a twofold situation. However, all in all, democracy has thrived in Zambia. Looking at how leaders are elected, yes, one way or the other, that's been the dispute of elections, but we've soldiered on. So truly, democracy has thrived in Zambia.
Interesting. Now, let's look at the survival of other political parties. Recently, we also witnessed a march of opposition political party leaders who were protesting against the construction of the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway through a concession agreement with a Chinese firm also involved is NAPSA. Now, looking at that as aspect, others have argued to say, as a democracy, those people should have been allowed to do their protest as opposed to being arrested, especially at a time when the country is also going to be hosting this important event.
Mr. Soko, like I put it, the most unfortunate thing about African politics is that of disadvantaging the other. You always have to know that when the ruling government is doing certain things, sometimes is basically to silence the opposing voice. They feel the more publicity the opponent gets, the lesser the chances of them holding on to power. However, the freedom of assembly is guaranteed in the Constitution of Zambia, just as the freedom to protest. I'm reminded that the Constitution of Zambia only asks any would-be protester to inform the police. And the police should just be informed and see if they're able to marshal the protest. If you are not able to marshal, any other reason, I don't think, especially peaceful demonstration, is not right. People should be let to express their views. In this case, you've mentioned the Ndola Lusaka road, the dual carriageway.
Yes.
This road, even as we speak, some people have still contended, still contentious issue. What we need, what the government needs to do is bring the people on board. Comrades, what is it that you feel we've done wrong in this aspect? What are your grievances? And I think we'll find a win-win situation. But just telling others to say, no, we've made a decision, we will go ahead, I think that's not the right way.
Mr. MUTALE, are you also in other ways implying that this government hasn't taken a consultative approach? They should have been proactive in engaging stakeholders to get what others are thinking of this project?
Mr. Soko, they look at the people that protested. They've never been in government.
Yes.
Number one. So they should be heard. If it was PF, I will mention PF because PF have been in government and they're actually the people that started the project.
Yes.
But the UPND in opposition actually contended also to say the BOQ that has been procured is exorbitant. They also questioned, so what is good for the goose should also be good for the gander. The UPND contended on the price of the same road. Now that the PF is out of government, UPND is in government, there are others that have also contended. So give them a platform. Let them also air their views. As long as they do not cause acrimony. Because most of the protests, maybe I don't mean well. Maybe the police in doing that had their own reasons, which you and me might not know. Exactly. So the police can help us why they had to go that route.
But others have argued to say, before that, we also saw a meeting of people who were protesting, advocating for LGBTQ rights being allowed to protest toward their procession freely. So others would argue to say, equally, they should have been allowed to air out their grievances, considering that they were also holding a free protest, and not a violent protest, but a protest where they want to make sure that it is held in a conducive manner.
Comrade, look at these two instances. The protest by those who we now know were actually propagating LGTB. But we've been told to say when they went to apply or notify the police, they mentioned not what they protested for. So they actually lied to the police, and the proper registration has been used, I'm told, by the police when arresting those people to say they gave false information to the police.
Exactly.
But in this matter that you're talking about, where the EFF and group protested and they were arrested, we've not been given a reason why. Maybe I missed that one, but for I know, a reason has not been given why those leaders were arrested.
It was just an unlawful assembly.
Unlawful assembly, of course, that's the law that unfortunately politicians from the times of MMD have been using, unlawful assembly and everything. But I'm reminded that the EFF, who were actually organizers for that protest, actually got a permit. We call it a permit, but in essence, it's not supposed to be a permit because you just notify the police.
Exactly. Well, our dear viewers, you are watching The People's Verdict, and in conversation, I'm joined by Mr. FABIAN MUTALE. He is a founder member of the Opposition Patriotic Front, and we are discussing intra-party democracy ahead as Zambia hosts the Democracy Summit this month. And we have talked about quite a number of issues, but in case you also want to join us in this conversation, you can do so on our Facebook platform and engage us and leave us a message, as well as you can call the number that will be on your screen to give us a call. That call, and then we'll be able to let you in and give us your perspective on the issues pertaining to democracy, because democracy is what we are discussing this afternoon. And to also proceed further, Mr. Mutare, interestingly, the same political party we are talking about is a political party that has been engaged in intra-party wrangles. Now, we are talking about the PF being Zambia's major opposition political party, and its survival is critical for Zambia's democracy. However, we are seeing that this same political party is engulfed in confusion. What do you have to say about this confusion that is happening in the PF?
Well, it is a sorry sight, to say the least, especially that we are living at a time when PF is the largest political party in terms of numbers, even in parliament. Mm-hmm. We expect them to provide the proper checks and balances. Now, if they're engulfed in intra-party acrimony, I think the nation at large needs to be worried. I'm saying this having in mind that we have groups that have arisen because of the upcoming convention, mm-hmm. or Congress, as it were. There are groups that are saying we are more PF and the group than the other group. Now, look at this scenario, Mr. Soko. If today the so-called Central Committee, because the mm-hmm. contention has been the current Central Committee was wrongly elected. I'm being careful because certain matters are before court.
Exactly.
So I'll be very careful even as I discuss this. A group has a reason that we are more PF than the other. Others, some online.
They are coming from MMD. Others are coming from MMD.
Precisely. I was trying to be polite. Mm-hmm. Now that you've brought, they're actually calling MMD hijackers. Mm-hmm. Now look at this. If the MMD hijackers, as it were, decided to say, okay, fine, we stood on the platform of PF. Mm-hmm. Now we are calling us MMD. We are pulling out and going back to MMD. Mm-hmm. That is if MMD is still around, mm-hmm. to provide proper, political relevance.
Yes.
We are pulling out. What will remain of PF MPs? Mm-hmm. How many numbers are original PF in parliament right now? Those that represent PF. Number one. Secondly, how many numbers represent the true membership of PF in terms of structures? We don't know that. But the truth is, the PF in its current form is actually creating a political crisis in Zambia. I foresee, I'm not a prophet, but I foresee in the nearest future, either the so-called true greens or those that are being fought forming a new political party, or they will join another political party which they will feel is all coming. Because if you have sentiments from certain, like we've heard in the circles, sentiments like if candidate A is the one that leads the party, I would rather go. If candidate B, I cannot know before this. That already is a problem for a political party. And the earliest the PF sorts out its intra-party problems, the better for Zambia and better for democracy.
I may have been young, but I think I was old enough to know that the founder member of the Opposition Patriotic Front was an MMD member. Mr. Sata was an MMD person. So What do these people mean when they talk about two MMD, two PF and MMD? Because ultimately the PF mostly is also a composition of MMD. It's a breakaway from the movement for multi-party democracy.
Well, to say the least, to claim a more PF than this person is actually myopic, in my view. Just like you have put it, PF was an offshoot of the MMD. So anyone who came later than those that left early, why should there be a difference? There shouldn't be a difference unless someone is being self-centered and they feel they have the monopoly of leadership, or the monopoly of wisdom, and they are the only people that should lead. Otherwise, PF itself is a baby of the MMD, except people from MMD started joining PF at different times, and it should not rise who is more PF and who is not more PF.
Historically, we have seen that political parties that went the route of court processes have gone into oblivion, or rather, they have become weak. We are looking at political parties that have been in court, including the UNIP itself has been in court. These members amongst themselves taking each other to court. We have seen that the opposition movement for multi-party democracy, MMD, was entangled in confusion, where we saw then the later RB and Nevas Mumba being at loggerheads. Then the issues also were now left to Felix Mutati, who was handling issues pertaining to Nevas Mumba. After Nevas Mumba, we saw Lafayo Nagachinda taking on Dr. Mumba. Then eventually we saw now the coming of Operation Save MMD. And at the end of the day, you saw the movement for multi-party democracy in terms of how it performed even in the previous election. It was nowhere in the next second place or third place position. So now, we've seen other political parties that wanted to make an impact, like the Democratic Party. We've seen also them facing the similar problems. The National Democratic Congress, NDC, was also engulfed in court issues. We have seen that their ending has not been good in terms of putting their party together to be able to provide credible checks and balances to the sitting government. Now we are talking about this PF. Is the court process a good way of resolving conflicts?
Number one, no one in Zambia has won an election through the courts. When I say no one has won elections through the courts, I'm referring to all most of the presidential petitions that have been in Zambia. No election has been overturned in favor of the litigant. Just like now, most of these court processes that are started by people that feel they are disadvantaged within their organizations, they just waste their time. Believe you me, just on some cases that are before court, the legal processes in Zambia, not by design, but it is just law. Unfortunately, law can be elongated by the lawyers themselves, and you find that the case is just going. This is March, 21st March, today. PF was supposed to go to the Congress. They can't go because there's a matter in court. So whoever is fighting is only shooting themselves in the foot. I'm made to believe that if there was no court process by now, maybe the PF would have gone to the Congress, because that is what we were told last year. That
yes, we were aware that the match was the...
Now, is the Congress going to take place? No. Just yesterday I was reading that some people have won an order to save documents through an advertisement, because those that were supposed to be saved documents have been eluding. When are they going to be saved? If they are going to be saved, when is the court process going to start? Meanwhile, time is ticking. Remember, already the current government has presented 3 national budgets, meaning they are only remaining with 2 national budgets to present, and the term would have... In the calculation, we are saying the UPND only remains with 2 years. So when is PF going to put the house in order and continue providing credible, objective checks and balances to the UPND for the people of Zambia when they're engulfed in intra-party wrangles? My brother, as we speak, almost 2 years down the line, the PF, the strongest opposition political party, the largest, coming from the ruling party, has not gone back to the grassroots, to the people of Zambia, to thank them for the vote that they gave them. Why? Because there's been wrangles here and there. Whoever wanted to go into the field to meet the structures is viewed as supporting particular candidate, and everyone is told not to go in the field. So when is PF going to do that? Michael Sata always made sure that immediately after elections, winning or losing in any particular area, you go back to the people, thank them for the vote, and encourage those that have not voted for you. Appeal to them next time to vote for you. Has PF done that? Not at all. That is why you've seen that it's now a scramble for leadership. I call it a scramble for leadership because there are people that are actually neither here nor there who want to lead PF. I mean, then everyone should be PF president should be a president in PF. No, we need order, even in the political dispensation. There are others that, in my view, have outlived their usefulness politically, and there are others that I feel leading an organization is not their thing. They would rather be in the back room, like some of us have always been, and let others lead. That is my take on that one.
When you talk about others who may have outlived their usefulness in politics, would you have specific names?
Well, we've got now we have got about nine candidates.
Yes. Now, when you assess that list,
comrade, I mentioned to say any person in PF in its current form who propagates division has outlived their political life.
Could we make reference to those people who were in the audio as among those who have actually outlived their usefulness?
Well, you are proposing, and in my view, I would concur with you, because if I want to lead, I should be ready to be led.
You are not concurring with me.
No, I'm referring to the audio. I'm referring to the audio.
Because
I'm referring to the audio. If I want to lead, I should be ready to be led. So if I feel only me can lead, then I would have outlived my usefulness politically.
So you mean this a group that does not need to be led? Don't you think they have a genuine reason for suggesting to say, I cannot be a secretary general for this particular individual? Don't you think they have...
Comment. You said rightly here to say, we all come from NMD. PF was formed in 2001, about 3 months before the general elections. Michael Sata left the MMD. He never left UNIP, he left the MMD and formed PF. So in leaving MMD, he's actually a product of MMD. So if the founding father of PF is MMD, and someone today wakes up and says the MMD hijackers, where did that person come from? For argument's sake, if the people who are perceived to be in the audio came from another political party, then they should not actually harass the MMD hijackers, because the founder of the PF came from the MMD. So let them leave the MMD hijackers, because they followed their member, Michael Sata, who left MMD to form PF. That is my take.
We are looking at a list of several people who want to take over the leadership of this opposition political party called the PF. Now, we are looking at, there are quite a number of people. In your assessment as a person, whom do you think is well placed to take over the leadership of the PF?
That is a preserve of the electoral college. Unfortunately, I'm not part of the electoral college.
However, as an individual has a conviction to say, if that person is given a mantle or given a chance to lead, would make a better president.
Right now, for me, it is very difficult to say, because I've never had a chance to hear their manifestos, the 9 candidates, to appeal to me or appeal publicly to, because the campaigns for the presidential elections have not been opened yet.
Yes.
So I'm waiting for a time when the campaign period will be opened, because we have the manifesto, the PF manifesto, which runs from 2021 to 2026, which we all believe in. We also have the leadership that has been there, and this is the leadership among them that we are looking up to. Remember, there's also the issue of the ECO factor. Believe you me,
Let's talk about that.
yes, believe you me, the ECO factor in Zambia is huge. Even if it's not ECO who comes back, but whoever is going to have the support of ECO in PF carries the day. Because ECO, in his current form, he still has a lot of sympathizers. He may not want to bounce back, or he may not want to lead the PF again, but just the fact that he's the immediate past president, and not immediate by virtue of him having not handed over it, because the PF constitution says he should hand over. He could have resigned, but the constitution says after the election of a new president, he should hand over. So if in the background ECO endorses a candidate, then the ECO factor should be respected.
So why should it be respected? Why should the opinion of a retired person be respected? Because as far as we are concerned, former President Edgar Lungu is a retired...
I'm talking about intra-party politics. We're talking about the PF.
Interesting, but is too highly involved in the PF.
No. Even if he retired from active politics, he's a statesman now. But political activities would definitely be biased towards his own political party.
Now that you're mentioning another interesting aspect of him being a statesman, brothers have argued to say is mostly entangled in patriotic front issues, hence that does not reflect a person who should be a statesman, in that is too politically inclined, in that he is not able to give an objective opinion on national matters, in that at the moment we have seen him with President Hakainde Hichilema go on each other head on. You've seen them attacking each other, and recently we saw President Hichilema also replying by suggesting that to say that the act of trying to plot the comeback Now, what do you make of these maneuvers, Mr. FABIAN MUTALE?
The problem we have in Zambia is that subordinates always want to push an agenda through a figurehead. Look here, ECO goes to church,
yes,
for whatever reasons, says something, then the subordinates, probably of the president, interpret what ECO says to suit an agenda. Okay, fine. You call it responding. President Hakainde Hichilema responds. He was not actually responding, in my view. Just like ECO, maybe he was not directing that statement at anyone. You know, sometimes when you're speaking off the cuff.
There was also that story where the former president was actually looking and said, they said they would address the cost of living. They said these things have been piling.
No. Yes, but I wanted to answer the aspect of from where the ECO made a comment and where President Hakainde Hichilema perceived responded. That is where I'm trying to make a comparison. ECO could have said that off the cuff, and in no essence, it should have just been left in passing. Now, President HH responds according to what we've been told to say. He responded and said, you were there, and then Kutumpoko. My brother, look at this. if for any reason, HH, President Hakainde Hichilema, was responding to ECO, that is wrong. Because under the circumstances, ECO handed over power to HH. And we saw a lot of pictures prior to that. In fact, even after that, between, is it at the community house, Hakainde Hichilema, President Hakainde Hichilema, and ECO, and the Red RB.
Yes. That
is the culture that we should have continued. But what has happened along the way, like I've said, the PF, some PF sympathizers actually sang a song to say, Bosi mwaliba bwino, aba abipa, bantu mubomba na besa, na bena. People that follow us as leaders sometimes can mislead us. They would come to you. Believe you me, it is not everything that President HH listens to. It's people that take it to him to say, this is what this one has said about you. And the moment President HH is going to listen to each and every statement made by opposition political parties or any other person perceived to be an opponent, it is not going to be good for this country. It will divert his attention from the core value for which he was elected. Because don't forget it's politics. What if, I'm using the word, what if ICL has been thrown or has thrown himself to provide that distraction? Who knows? So President HH should be very careful. ICL is not coming back for any reason. That's my opinion. Because if ICL wanted to come back, does the Constitution allow him? If it allows him, let him come. He will face the Zambian people who he faced before. That is my take on that.
Interesting. Now that we're talking about these same political parties, first of all, do you think the PF is handling its rebranding process accordingly? Because we saw when they lost power to the United Party for National Development, UPND, we saw them regrouping and saying we want to rebrand to come back as a formidable political party to offer solutions to this country. Is their rebranding process up to date or making sense to Zambians?
Well, the rebranding process starts with leadership. Right now, the PF has an acting president, and they are preparing to go to a Congress. The Congress which has now been derailed by the court processes that have started. Look here, the rebranding will fit in well with a leader, an elected leader at the helm, because that elected leader is going to provide now the roadmap between now and 2026, and that is where we're going to see the true rebranding, because the process of rebranding started with organizing themselves to say, now that ECL has resigned, we need a party president. So let's go to the Congress. And that has been the process. It's a process like you have put it. So let's see how this process goes. However, this process, in my view, is being derailed by disgruntled members who are running to court for things that they can sort out in-house. Mr. Soko, the party constitution was not created by the courts. The PF party constitution. It was created from amongst the PF members, and they presented it before the Registrar of Societies to say this is our guiding principle. Why should you take the same document to court for interpretation? Why? When you can sit in-house and sort out whatever you feel is wrong regarding the decisions that have been made in-house. I think that is just derailing the whole process. And if my memory serves right, political parties die like that, and it will be sad for PF to die in that manner. But I foresee, like I've said, call me a prophet someday, I foresee either the so-called true greens, the few, by the way, the true greens now, I'm calling them the few. I'm calling them the few because Michael Sata, may he so rest in peace, came from MMD. And anyone who calls any other member a hijacker, MMD hijacker, is actually not a genuine member of PF.
Okay, there are interesting views there from Mr. Mutale. Now that you mentioned these aspects of hijacking, who is hijacking, who is not hijacking, but what should be the way forward to quench this fire? Because I don't think that audio sits well with those people they are calling hijackers. According to my observation, I don't think they are happy to be called hijackers, considering that these people are coming from one political party. Does it reflect unity? Isn't this further division, Mr. Mutale?
That is why I'm saying the people that are calling others hijackers, to me, they are the hijackers. I'll ask them, where did they come from? If they never came from MMD, where Michael Sata came from, then they're the hijackers. So let the hijackers go and leave the MMD members who were with Michael Sata in MMD before he formed the PF to continue running PF, for peace to reign in PF.
Now that this political party, like you put it when you were explaining the aspect of, we're just remaining with 2 years for us to go to the next general election in 2026. Now, the question that I have is that, do we have a strong opposition political party that can compete favorably with the UPND in Zambia? Your observation?
Yes, we do.
Which party is that?
There's PF, there's Socialist Party, there's National Democratic Congress Party, there's PEP, there's the Christian, this Calabar's party. all those all those we can call them formidable opposition political party. Using the word strong is an understatement, Mr. Soko. You know, Zambian politics and Zambian voters are very dynamic. Believe you me, the 2.8 million Zambians that voted for the UPND are not UPND members. That is what you should know. Today or tomorrow, if elections are held, the Zambians will look at the leader at that time, regardless of the political party they lead. If that leader is appealing and they feel he's going to lead them to a better nation, they'll vote for that person. So mentioning a political party to say political party A is a party that can take over from UPND, NDC can take over from UPND. Even UNIP, if they organize themselves, they have an appealing leader. Zambians look forward to the leadership. That is why I'm insisting on the PF to quickly find the leadership, put in a leadership that is going to provide a roadmap for the party.
Zambians argue, others would argue, Mr. Mutale, that the PF was given enough time to run this country. Why bring them back?
You're not bringing back the PF. You're bringing back a leadership. That is why there's rebranding. If the PF rebranding, PF will remain PF. The membership might remain changed, but the leadership, if the leadership rebrands, if the leadership becomes appealing to the people, there will be a comparison. Is this leadership giving us a better roadmap regarding national affairs compared to the current leadership? So we cannot say, no, bring back the PF. That is the notion that I always argue with. The issue of bringing back, it's not about bringing back. No. We are talking about a leadership that is going to provide proper leadership in Zambia. And the Zambians are the ones that are going to decide. You and me, we just have one vote each. We cannot shape the direction of this country and say, because the PF were there, they cannot come back. Because MMD was there, they cannot come back. Because UNIT was there, they cannot come back. That would be a very, very, very...
Zambians will still argue, Mr. Mutale, to say most of these people who are contesting for those positions, they served in cabinet. And others are equally facing issues pertaining to corruption. And what rebranding is coming on the table under the PF?
Look here, I will guide in this manner. Serving in a government and leading are two different things. When you are a minister, Michael Sata, may he so rest in peace, always said, Mpeni ubufumu inkachape chalo. People used to argue to say, you are a minister of this, you are a minister of that, you failed, you failed. He stood up and told you what he did in his personal capacity, in a specific area he was assigned to. Ministers are assigned in a specific area, while the president supersedes and oversees the whole nation. So the same people are saying they were there. They were leading a ministry. Is a ministry of the country? No. So give them a chance also to lead the country and see if they're going to.
But you should have been able to see a lot of transformation under which jurisdiction have been given. You, as Mr. Mutale, given an opportunity, you should be able to thrive with it whenever you are doing. You don't have to be the president.
Precisely, Mr. Soko. That is why I'm saying when the PF, after the Congress, they provide a leader, we are going to see, the Zambian people are going to see this leader, what is the value he has. What is he bringing? Because that leader is going to present himself before the people. First, he will provide a roadmap for the party. Look at the people that have presented themselves. They are all known people. They have their own shortcomings. They have their own strength. But we are not only going to look at the shortcomings of people. We should look at the strength. See, look at the strength. Is this person viable? If they are not viable, who is the alternative? Just shooting them down because they were in the previous government. My brother, they will put a surprise and will start saying, we didn't know. Had I known comes after a misery.
Because people are also wondering, Mr. Mutale, why I'm saying so is that on the very seat you are sitting there, we have interacted with many people, those who are coming from the PF, equally from the UPND. And these questions I'm asking are based on what we are getting, the feedback we are getting from the people. Is the PF coming back with the mentality of cadarism, which they inflicted inflicted on the people, especially in markets and bus stations? Is the PF coming back with a mentality of continuous borrowing? Now, those are the troubles that we have as a country at the moment, because if you look at this government, it is struggling to work on the debt restructuring. because we've overborrowed beyond our capacity now. Can Zambians really have the trust to say this political party, when it comes, it will do the right things?
Mr. Soko, the problem I have with Zambia is that we've got a very short memory.
So we can base on that.
No.
So we can let's specialize on the
let me exhaust my line of thought. We've got a short memory. But when it comes to bad things, Zambians don't forget. The best teacher is experience. PF has experienced that when you stray from the expectations of Zambians, they'll kick you out. The Zambians talked about cadarism. The Zambians talked about corruption and everything. The PF, by now, I'll take it, they are learning. So this is where I went wrong. This is where I went wrong. This is where I went wrong. And I think they'll come back a better person.
But if people advised them while they were in opposition, just like people are advising the UPND now.
Power corrupts. Power corrupts.
Is it a system that we have that is weak?
It's not the systems. The systems are in place. Which systems is the current government using? Which system is the current government?
Same capitalist systems.
No. We've had people being arrested while serving. The same systems that were there before. So it is just the issue of laissez-faire attitude in terms of effecting the laid down procedures. Laissez-faire attitude. Because the European government is using the same system that was there. But we've seen people, PDCs, PSs, being arrested and suspended. The same system. So it is the political will to act and do the right thing that could have lacked in the PF. And they are learning. I'm pretty sure they are learning. If they are not learning, I mean, the UPND will continue ruling, because the people will have to choose between the devil they know and the angel that is proposing that I'll be better than the current after being kicked out.
So as we go towards at the end of our conversation, Mr. Mutale, first of all, I want to get a solid perspective from yourself to say, what should be the way forward in strengthening the intra-party democracy of the PF and any other political party in Zambia? Because we have seen several times that political parties have a tendency of imposing themselves on the people. You'd find that Mr. Mutale goes into a convention, then the ward chairman of the provinces say, we have endorsed Mr. Mutale. Those tendencies continue. We have seen that leaders and their vice presidents will always come and say, people want me to continue, so you go unopposed. You make sure that everyone else from the party structures is endorsing you. But does that reflect intra-party democracy? Because we see this tendency on almost all the political parties that we have in this country.
Well, stage-managed leadership is a failed leadership. Because when you stage-manage popularity, you are actually shooting yourself in the foot. Because at the moment you are going to be given the stage which you want and you fail, people will insult you publicly. Others may not insult you publicly, but what would you have done to your political life? You've killed it. What we need now is people to present themselves truthfully and correctly. Like we're talking about the PF today, deliberately. The PF, like I've said, in its current form, they do not need people that are preaching division. Because for democracy, it is wrong for a big political party like PF to die because the leaders decided to be selfish. PF should at all cost deal away with any person, and I'm saying any person that preaches division. Because in the absence of a credible opposition in Zambia, there will be no democracy to talk about. Is UPND going to be competing against itself? No. So PF should sit down and make sure that those that feel they own PF are put in their position. Like I said, call me prophet someday. It's either those propagating division who leave, or those that feel they are not wanted who leave. But what will that mean? That will mean that the masses will go with the people that mean well, and the enemy will be visible at that point.
In your opinion, who means well?
The Central Committee means well. The Central Committee means well, because the Central Committee is the nucleus of a political party. So if the Central Committee is guiding and individuals feel they're more than the political party, they're the ones that should go. Okay, Mr. Soko, if today the Central Committee said, okay, fine, it looks like A and B are fighting us, so as the Central Committee, all of us are resigning. Who is going to make decisions on behalf of PF? If the Central Committee today resigned, if the Central Committee today said, okay, fine, we've been fought so much, everyone is claiming this and that, today we are leaving and joining political party A, or today we are leaving and forming a political party. Remember, some of the Central Committee members are MPs, and they talk to their fellow MPs. What is going to happen in Zambia? It will be a crisis.
There you have it. Any concluding remarks, Mr. Mutale, before I let you go?
Well, with the upcoming summit on democracy, I still feel Africa needs much to be done, especially in intra-party democracy. We should come to a stage where political parties are left to run on their own without an invisible hand of interference. Because we've seen so many times political parties claiming to say this one is throwing in money to destabilize, this one is throwing in money to destabilize. That should come to an end, if that is correct. And that is when we are going to say we really have a true democracy in Zambia. Interesting.
There you have it. We should preserve our democracy as a country, and that is Mr. Mutale. He has been our guest for today on the People's Verdict. Remember, we ask the question, and you, our dear viewers, make the verdict. And we, in conversation, we were discussing intra-party democracy as Zambia hosts the Democracy Summit, and we were looking in particular at the Patriotic Front, which is Zambia's major opposition political party, which has been engulfed in a lot of intra-party wrangles. We hope they'll manage to get over their differences and be able to hold a convention to elect their leader, and for Zambia's democracy to continue to thrive. Remember, democracy is about tolerating the views you do not like from someone you might not like. And from me, Patrick Soko, until next week when we come with another interesting episode of the People's Verdict, keep it on Camnet, because Camnet TV is not just another channel.